How are you? 8.27 miles, 8 minutes, 2 seconds per mile, 156 beats per minute on average for today. Today's workout was a medium run with a 4-mile marathon pace interval in there. I was able to hit that. I'm averaging about 172 to 173 beats per minute when I'm running those marathon paces, which is a little bit high. And I don't think it's ultimately going to be sustainable for a marathon to be running at that kind of heart rate. But I'll talk a little bit more about that once we kind of hit the end of peak week, which is going to be at the end of this week, and kind of look back at the training. We'll do that in a video coming later on. But today, what I do want to talk about is my goals for 2020. Now, ultimately, I wasn't planning on doing a running goals of 2020 video. Now, while I enjoyed making that video last year, the goals there were either too concrete or not concrete enough. I just didn't find them, I guess, interesting in terms of the goals I set. I think I set some time goals. I set some like subscriber goals, things like that. And so I just didn't find them to be motivating from like, I was already doing the things that my goals were already kind of leading towards. So it kind of felt like I was setting arbitrary like waypoints. And maybe I'm still doing the same thing now, but the main thing that I wanted to get out of this 2020 goals video was to talk about some of my running goals for this year, but to kind of explain the philosophy, or not the philosophy, but the rationale and the thinking of where I'm coming with those goals. And ultimately, I do want to hear about your running goals too. That was the main thing that I took away from last year's running goals video, is I love hearing about your running goals. So put those in the comments. I'd love to hear about what those are, and here are mine. Some of them they're all kind of running related. Some of them are a little bit more running specific, but most of them are kind of more just goals for me as a runner. And so the first one is going to be to run injury free. Last year I set a running goal of 2,019 miles for 2019. 2020 miles is a goal that's going to be really easy for me to hit in terms of my mileage if I stay injury free. If I don't stay injury free, or if I get injured, that's going to be a tougher number to hit. But ultimately, what I'm looking for in there is to stay injury free and just run a bunch of happy miles. So to do that, I'm going to be continuing running slower, whether that's with low heart rate training under the Maffetone style or some other definition of slow. I'll be doing a lot of slow miles. I've been enjoying that. I feel like I'm starting to get some benefit from it at this point. And it's something that lets me experience more running, which is ultimately what I like. At the base of all of this stuff is I like running. And so I want to do more injury-free running. Last year, I didn't get sidelined by any injuries, but I did have some kind of lingering, nagging issues, kind of not throughout the year, but from time to time. And so I'd love to be able to get past that as well. And I think the main way to do that is by keeping my low and easy miles really easy. And so that's one of my goals, is to stay injury free. The next goal is going to be to run faster. I have a couple of different like pace type of goals that I'm shooting for. I think 2020 will be the year that I get to them. But ultimately the goal is to run faster, and to run faster in the ways that I like running faster. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of mile repeats, but also longer like single set intervals like what I've done today in today's run, where I have like a 4-mile rep of one consecutive high intensity interval that I'd be putting into a run, like a 3 mile, maybe a 2x3 mile, a 1x4, or 1x5, 1x6. Like that's the kind of things that I really want to work on. The ultimate goal behind that is, easy parts, really, really easy, and a lot of easy. And then a small percentage of my running is going to be hard, and I want it to be very hard and not necessarily fast. And what I mean by very hard is that I want to feel a lot of, not pain discomfort, but the discomfort of what it feels like to be pushing your body a little bit harder and get more comfortable with that notion of, I don't know how much longer I can sustain this, and keep pushing that point where your mind starts setting off those sirens. I want to keep pushing that further and further back. And for me, I think that like half-mile intervals don't do that. The panic doesn't have a chance to set in at half a mile. Even at a mile, an interval seems a little bit short. So I'm looking at 3-mile intervals and 4-mile intervals, and hopefully I can do a lot more of those. Whether the pace, I'm not sure what the paces will be, and hopefully that'll change over the course of the year. But that's kind of what I'm hoping for in terms of running faster. The next goal isn't directly a running goal. It's really vague. It's I want to experience more. And that's the ultimate goal. And the way that I want to achieve that experiencing more is by planning better. I'm a notoriously bad planner, and I feel like I'm not missing out on opportunities, but the opportunities just aren't even materializing. And so I think that if with further planning, I can make room for things that take a long time to kind of figure out. Mainly in regards to travel and making sure that things are okay at work and at home, so I can get away, so I can do events in other types of cities. I keep talking about this Ragnar event that I want to do with my running buddy. I want to make sure that we get that planned. His schedule is a little bit more particular than mine is, and so like we got to make sure that that weekend falls on the right day, and we can get away, and he can get time away from work, right? And so like those are the kinds of things that I want to make sure that I'm doing, and so planning ahead is going to be really important. Part of that, there's a lot of events that I'd like to travel to this year to spectate as well. That's going to take a lot of planning, the kind of planning that I know that I am really bad at. So I want to be able to ultimately experience more, and the way that I'm going to do that is by planning. The next thing that I want to do is focuses more on about like YouTube and the channel. I don't have like a subscriber goal anymore. This year, 2019, last year, was an amazing year for growth. It's gotten me to a point where, not that I'm a giant YouTuber now, I still consider myself a very small YouTuber, but I'm no longer obsessed with that subscriber number. I'm no longer obsessed with the views that are coming in on a video. It's just not something that's, it never really drove like what kinds of videos were being made, but it definitely was something that I thought about multiple times per day, and I was checking on multiple times per day. By the end of 2019, that wasn't really happening anymore, and part of that is just from the comfort of having continued growth and seeing, okay, I don't have to worry about the numbers. The bottom isn't dropping out. The bottom could drop out at any point. I totally understand that, but it's not a fear that I have like on a daily basis anymore. And so I think that what I can do with the energy that I was spending on that is turn it around and help grow the community. And so that's my big goal, is growing the community. And what I mean by that is I want to be able to support other YouTubers, my peers, but also smaller YouTubers that are coming up. And so I'm still not exactly sure, like the way that I've structured all these goals is I have a big goal and a couple of kind of action, not items, but like principles that I can act on in terms of how to achieve those goals. I'm not exactly sure what it means to support other YouTubers or other creators, graphic designers, videographers, other artists and creatives that are in the running space, whether they're creating running content or are runners who can create content. I'd love to be able to do that. I'm still, and I've kind of always been thinking about ways I can do that. But this year I want to make it more of a priority. I want to make it so that we're not just all like independent guys kind of just trying to survive the YouTube gauntlet and see who emerges victorious at the end of the day. I think we could cross the line as a team in terms of hitting our goals for the year, in terms of growth and establishing community. And just like a pack of runners is stronger together, I think that a pack of creatives who are connected by running can also be stronger together. And so that's something I want to do. Part of that is connected to my previous goal of experiencing more and traveling and planning ahead. And so hopefully that's something that are things that we can all kind of connect. All these goals are a little bit connected. And so not necessarily saying that like, I got to go do some collabs, but I do want to be able to work with other people, whether it's in a face-to-face in the same video kind of way, or just throwing support, showing up in more people's comments. Like that's the kind of thing that I want to be able to do. When the channel was a lot smaller, that was something that I felt like I did a really good job of, is making sure, not like making sure, but like I had time to watch other people's videos, and I was liking and commenting and doing all the things that I think are really important. And I think I've gotten away from that a little bit, so I want to make sure I'm getting back to that and helping build and grow the community. We're not like all different TV shows that live in different universes. We're more like one of those giant NBC universes where there's like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and like Chicago Med. We're all in the same universe. We're all in the same like Marvel universe, if you want to look at it that way. And so we should be seeing each other all over the place. And so that's one of the things that I'm working on in terms of growing the community, is making that we're all seeing each other everywhere. So that way we feel like this is our place. And so that way we can see that there are so many of us here, and that we have strength in numbers, and that we can all grow together. The last thing that I want to do for 2020 is prioritize. Something that I've noticed in 2019 is that I've kind of said yes to too many things, and I've been bad at planning ahead. And so I feel like I've talked frequently about how time management, work-life balance is kind of like a time Ponzi scheme, where you're just borrowing time from one place to give it to another, and hoping the spinning plates don't crash. I've dropped a couple of plates over the course of the year, and some bigger ones and some little ones as well. And so I need to kind of concentrate some of my efforts. Now, all the stuff that I've talked about seems like a lot of big, grand things, but I also want to kind of refocus some of my energies and make sure, and that's another reason why I wanted to put this 2020 goals video out, is to make sure that I have some waypoints that I can look back to later on in the year to make sure, am I still following kind of like these guiding principles, or like what I think will be the guiding principles of 2020. Maybe this is a video that needs to be kind of updated, and so maybe this is just goals for first half of 2020 or first quarter of 2020. But I want to make sure that I'm staying focused on the things that are truly important, whether that's running or not running. So the main thing that I want to prioritize is making sure that I've got everything taken care of at home with the family, with my relationship with my wife and with my kids, and also the dog. And so those are things that I want to prioritize and protect the time that I have with them. And I also want to prioritize things at work as well. And a lot of these goals that I'm talking about, especially the experiencing more and planning ahead, kind of two sides of that same coin, it's really important for me in terms of my work life as well. One of the things I say, not to my clients, but about my clients when I'm talking with my coworkers, is that none of the stuff that we have to do for our clients is ever all that difficult. But our clients make it difficult because they haven't thought of it ahead of time, or they haven't planned for it, or they just ignored something that they knew they were going to need to do until the last minute. And that lack of planning, putting an easy thing at a difficult time at the last minute, makes it exponentially more difficult. And I feel like I've been doing the exact same thing that I critique kind of my clients for doing. I've been doing that a lot with work stuff and with family stuff. And so I want to make sure that that's not happening anymore. So I need to prioritize kind of those two things. And I also need to prioritize this running channel as well. It's like another thing, a part of my life that I really enjoy. But I need to make sure that I'm staying focused and able to spend as much time as this channel needs and that I want to spend on the channel on here as well. One of the things that I do think that I'm going to do in terms of, I try not to think about like goals for a new year in terms of things that I don't do or things that I'm going to avoid. I like to think of them as a proactive things that I can like move towards. But one of the things that I am going to do is I'm probably going to reduce the number of videos by 1 video a week. Right now I'm at 5 to 6 videos per week. I'm going to probably cut that down to 4 to 5. And so that's something that is kind of hard for me to kind of wrap my head around. I'll still be filming running content every day. I'm not sure how that's going to affect it, but I think that it just relieves like some pressure off of everything to give myself permission to make that one less video a week, so that way I can do all the other things that are the goals that I've already just talked about in terms of running happy, injury-free miles, running faster miles, and experiencing more. One of the things that I want to be able to do in terms of my videos specifically, and that experience more goal, is to have more videos that aren't just about like one thing, like this new lens I bought or whatever it is that's lying around. I want to be able to experience more, plan ahead better, and make bigger, more comprehensive videos. And so one of the kinds of videos that I've really liked for 2019 was kind of the brand lineup video. I'd like to do more of those. That's going to require a little bit more intentionality and specificity in terms of the shoes that I'm picking up, rather than kind of like, oh yeah, that's a shoe, I'll buy that. I want to have a little bit more direction and focus in terms of where I'm going, so that I can have those kinds of videos, experience more brands, understand more brands rather than just shoes. And so again, experiencing more by prioritizing and planning ahead. And so those are the kind of different tools that I'm going to be using and hopefully reminding myself about from time to time throughout the year, to see that I can go out and get all those bigger, loftier ideas with some hopefully relatively concrete guiding principles of how to get from point A to point B. Hopefully that makes sense. It feels like a ramble. A lot of it has to do with being a runner and someone that has to balance, not has to, but gets to balance running with family and work and interacting with other runners. And so those are my goals. I think I need to update this, probably like 6 months in. I think another year is probably too long before an update. But that's something that I'll have to plan ahead to do, to make sure that I can experience more and that I'm prioritizing and that the community is growing. So anyway, those are my goals for 2020. I'd love to hear about yours. That is one of my favorite things about the start of a new year, is to hear about how people who have, after spending some time with their families, having time to reflect, now, what ways are they looking to improve themselves and improve their quality of life. I'd love to hear about what you guys are hoping to improve in 2020. And I think together we can make sure that we stay together as a pack and have the best year ever. Before I go, I do want to remind you guys about the charity runner for this week. This week it's Adam Cuomo, and he's running the Boston Marathon and raising money for Team Dream Big, an organization that provides access to sports and activities to low-income families who might not otherwise have that chance. I was happy to donate $70 to Adam's fundraising efforts, and I'll post a link in the description in case you'd like to learn more. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you soon.
Yo, what's going on?